Welcome to another episode of BHP Book Club. I am your host, Kelly Morgan. Today we're speaking with author-entrepreneur Dawn Williams. She's written a book called The BTYCH Book. Now don't let that scare you. It's BTYCH, BYTCH, and it's all about her journey to be an entrepreneur and how she made that happen. She's hoping that her words will inspire and help others who are going down an entrepreneur path. So let's not wait any longer. Let's welcome to our book club our newest member, author and entrepreneur, Dawn Williams. Dawn, welcome to the PHP Book Club. Welcome. How are you?
I'm fine. How are you?
I am fantastic. I'm excited that you're here. I love when authors stop by to share their journey and their books and their stories. And so I know that your book is an interesting one, and we'll get all into it in a moment. But I always like to start off by asking authors, how did you become an author? Did you always know you wanted to be an author, or did you just kind of fall into it?
I kind of fell into it because I'm a hairdresser by trade. So by the time November hit, me and my husband was trying to think of ways where we could try to start something online. So I came across a guy who was doing a book writing course. And that's when I was like, oh, that might be interesting. So it was just natural for me to just tell a story, because when you're a hairdresser, all your clients literally know all your business. So it was like a culmination of years and years of worth of what I tell clients in regards to the subject matter of the book.
So did you self-publish your book?
Yes, I did.
And so what was that like? Was it hard? Did you find it challenging? What was that like?
I didn't find it hard, but that's because of the book writing course that I took. So it's a guy named Kyle Dendy, Kyledndy, and he just walks you through step by step by step and puts you on a deadline. Like, you need to have this book out in 6 weeks, which I'm glad he did push that. It's like a pre-recorded course, because I can see how you get lost in it, because I'm in the middle of writing the next one, and I'm like, I can see why he put a deadline on it. So he made it really, really easy. But I can see people who self-publish, how that could be extremely difficult if you didn't have somebody to guide you through the steps.
Right.
Because it's a lot of steps.
There is. So did you have an editor? Did he point you to an editor?
Yes. So I went with Fiverr. So that's when I found out about Fiverr. I had no idea there's a whole platform where you got somebody who could, they edited it and then formatted the book in 2 different ways. So it was 2 separate vendors that I went with, and it was inexpensive that route too. So I designed it because I'm creative anyway, but Fiverr also provides that as well. So that's Yeah,
Fiverr has a lot of options. I know a lot of authors who have used Fiverr. So let's get into the book. Tell me about your book. Tell me the title of it, and go ahead. You can say the title on the podcast. It's fine. It's fine. We're all genres here. We don't discriminate at all. Okay? So I want you to go ahead and share the title of that book, and then we're going to get into what it is.
Okay, it's The BTYCH Book, so it's spelled with a Y. My husband came up with that name. That's his whole personality. So it's the acronym for Building Your Trojan Creative Horse. So the book is basically about the emotional side of being an entrepreneur. I've been entrepreneur for about 20 years, doing within the cosmetology industry. And I do other things like probably business cards and promotional stuff for people, but in general, my main thing was being an entrepreneur in the cosmetology industry. And I really wanted to highlight in the book, which is the first chapter, what you go through once you get a brick and mortar location. A lot of the businesses are just virtual, or just side hustles. But when you go step it up a level and go and get a brick and mortar location, it's a whole nother ball game. And I think that the mistake that we make, I know everybody who I talk to, you thinking that your biggest hurdle is going to be licensing, right? And you're going to have a psychopath that's in charge of licensing and this and that. It was the landlord. That was the biggest hurdle. And I thought it was just her, because she had her issues, and allegedly drinking issues, and this is an elderly lady. She was something. But when I started talking to other entrepreneurs, either my clients or in all different races, it don't even matter. They say the exact same thing, especially being in Maryland. I'm in Maryland. There is no laws governing commercial tenancy in Maryland. So that means they can do whatever the F they want to do. And they do. And they do. So it's like she was cutting off my air conditioning. She was breaking in the salon and just, taking pictures and just driving me out. And I wasn't emotionally ready at that point in the game. But by the time I moved to the next location, which I'm still at now, it was a war and I won, but we had to come to a mutual understanding. And then I realized even though I won, everybody else around me, I share the space with, it's like an office building with all salons in it. Everybody else is still scared. You see? So the stuff that they do, because I demanded it, it benefits the other tenants, but they still run that game with the other tenants because each individual person has to be able to assert themselves. So that's what my book is basically outlining. How to assert yourself, what I went through, the backside that nobody talks about, the crying, and that was a horrific journey with my first location. Oh, Lord have mercy.
I think most people don't become entrepreneurs because they believe it to be difficult or hard, or they say, oh, I just don't have the money. I got to keep my job, right? Because I got to put food on the table. So tell me, how do you give somebody advice who's like, I really want to work for myself, but I don't know where to start. I don't know what to do.
My first advice is if you can't fight your boss, because a lot of people thinking you're going to escape having a boss, right? Because you work for yourself. If you can't fight your boss and learn how to psychologically battle somebody who's your boss, you're not ready for entrepreneurship. It starts from there. So even though I may not have a boss, I'm fighting a landlord like how I would a boss and helping them to understand that you're not over me and I'm not over you. It's a mutual understanding. As far as the work part of it, yes, it is difficult. And it's something that you have to know going in. And it's okay to say it's not for me, because it's plenty of entrepreneurs that need workers that are just workers and that's all they want to do. Like, for example, my youngest son is my only employee at this point in time. He's only 12, but he knows right now he does not want to be an entrepreneur because he sees everything that goes into it. The emotional side of it, it's like you're growing with the business. So the boundaries I put up now as Dawn 20 years in, I definitely didn't have them boundaries when I first came out at 18, 19 years old. So it's difficult, but it's a challenge that I think you just got to know what you're doing going in. And then also another thing I want to say, a lot of people are scared to be entrepreneurs, and half the time you already in business for yourself. Like, I had a client and he was like, he wasn't right. I was making these promotional videos and I was like, let me do a promotional video for you. He was like, oh, no, I'm not ready. And in the meantime, another client solicited his services. He was a locksmith. While we're sitting there, I said, you're already in business. So a lot of times when I start a business venture, I was already doing it and then I'm legalizing it. You know what I'm saying? Let me get my EIN number. Let me get the bank account. Let me get like that. Sometimes you already is in it and it's like, okay, look, put that website up. You see what I'm saying? That's my experience. Every business venture you see, I was already doing it and I just made it look more professional and built it around it. So I think that takes the fear out of it for people who saying, should I do it? You already got a side hustle. To me, everybody got something that they're passionate about that they do. And it's like, and that somebody, half the time you're giving away for free. Like, look how many years I was giving away free hairstyles. And I was just like, I'm going to be a hairdresser, because I just like doing it, So
they say that, if you're going to work, you should be able to do what you love. Right. And not everybody has that opportunity. But I'm interested in the title of the book, The BTYCH Book. And you said it's BYTCH?
Yes.
Okay.
Instead of BITCH.
So, and tell me what the title stands for again.
Building Your Trojan Creative Horse. So how I came up with the acronym, when I'm taking the book writing course, he said that, right? But he didn't use one of the letters. And it says something about building your Trojan horse. So he's basically saying, come up with a subject matter that'll get you in the door, right? of just anything, and I was like, that makes perfect sense because that's all I do, So while I'm sitting here doing somebody's hair, the Trojan horse, the Trojan horse for the book might be, I might grab your attention by saying I do hair, because that grabs everybody's attention. Oh, where you work at? You see what I'm saying? That's my Trojan horse. So the book represents that Trojan horse for me trying to branch off from doing hair and trying to go virtual. And I find it's easy just to say, hey, can you buy a $15 book? And they just buy it, especially once I engage you in a conversation. Most of the time people just buy it just for the sake of supporting, So that's what went behind the meaning of that phrase.
So when was the book published?
February 14th of this year. Okay,
so the book is new. So you put the book out there, but what made you do that? What was your thought processes? I'm gonna put out this book for what? Was it to help other people? Was it because you just wanted to know what that was like? Why did you actually take that step and publish that book?
To help other people. It's basically what I do anyway, where I'm like giving people advice. They always come to me for advice. A lot of clients I know will just ask me, for business advice. And I'm like, let me put this in a book so I don't got to go through telling this entire story again. How I got to this point. You can actually sit and read it, because it's a lot. And most people who know everything that's in that book have known me for like 15 years. So they're like, oh girl, I remember that. Oh yeah, I remember when she did that, and that's the biggest reason why.
So now you've got this, you're an entrepreneur, you're a new author, you've got a book out there. And I think you just said you were working on a second book.
Yes, ma'am.
So now we're going to be a 2-time book author. So I think you've got the author bug, sounds like to me. So what's the second book about?
Okay, so I got this thing. It's on my YouTube channel. It's called Unsick. So it's like this journey that I'm going through. Period. Just being a human being, where I feel like I feel like when you transition into something, everybody around you do it as well. So for example, changing my diet and then noticing how it actually it's for weight loss, but me with the weight loss struggle, I ain't a thin girl, so me finding myself and understanding what contributes to the change of diet, what contributes to you desiring certain things. And as I'm like putting more and more into the book, I'm like, everything I'm learning, I'm just journaling it, so that inshallah, which means if Allah permits, that I actually do get to my goal weight, that somebody be like, well, how'd you lose weight? Here you go. Or and then also stuff that's in the book is financial literacy, what I'm picking up now, which I never would have until certain things happen and make you pick up certain things. And I'm like, I never would have looked at my finances had it not been for, it was a phone call from an insurance company saying if you miss one more payment, you got to start all over. And I'm like, and I started looking like, look at my finances. I managed to cut out like $1,000 in a month. And I'm like, I didn't even realize that I was spending that much. You see what I'm saying? So I'm like, I think that there's a tie, and that all goes in with hair. I realize everything mixes in with hair, because your mental health affects how you spend money, affects how you eat, affects how your hair fall out. And I'll have people come in, and then I'm an empath. So I have people come in for hair services, and they just is a mess, and I can feel it. You know what I'm saying? And they're like, well, how come this is happening? Well, it could be stress, it could be anger, it could be, and then I could just shoot you a YouTube video, and then it explains, because I only got like an hour or two with you. So I think the biggest thing about Unsick, you'll see my son's homeschool. I'm homeschooling, so we go on field trips. You see those things where I'm realizing that impacts mental health. So the Unsick is more so about mental health and how people don't understand how everything mixes together. You just think it's so separate.
It's all connected.
Is.
Yes. And you can't, in this country, we're so big on treating the body, right? All we want to do is treat the body, but we never think about treating the mind, or more importantly, the spirit, because you have to. And
Yes.
so those three things have to balance one another. You can't put emphasis on one without putting emphasis on the other. It sounds like your second book is a journey of self-discovery. Is that a good way to put it?
And what you just said, you have to see this symbol. It's actually my screensaver. I'm gonna show it to you right now. This is hilarious because what you just said is exactly what I had to make this symbol. I know you can't hardly see it, but it's a brain and then somebody doing yoga, and a mouth. And because I keep forgetting that I have to do all three at the same time, it's hard to connect what you eat with mindset as well as exercise. And
Yes.
I notice how if I'm upset, I can't do rigorous exercise. I could do weightlifting, but rigorous exercise where I get that cardio in, I can't do that because my mind is not right. So I was like, look how long it took me to understand that.
And most people don't. So
right.
I'm glad that you're writing a book. When I get upset, what goes for me is I'm no longer hungry. I can go the entire day. If I am upset, it affects my digestive system. So
Yes.
I am not hungry. I'm too upset to eat. And I realized this about myself about 5 years ago, how something could trigger, and now I'm not hungry. And I realized that it's all connected. So I like what that second book is about, because so many people don't get it. We're so quick to say, oh, I got this ailment, take a pill. Right? Pill will solve your problem, and the pill won't solve your problem because the pill is simply a band-aid. The problem's still there.
That is so true. And I didn't begin to even think of this until my father passed last year. And so of COVID. But I will say this, prior to him going into the emergency room, which took a family intervention, he was a mess. And he was used to, especially men, putting up the facade that they're okay.
Mm-hmm.
And he was my superhero. And so when I saw the weakness, and then I was his caregiver because against his will, because he's going, I'm okay, I don't need anything. It made me go, I just watched him deteriorate. I literally watched him die. So by the time he was going into the hospital and he didn't have COVID, and then of course his immune system is just weak, you see? And then he went into cardiac arrest, and then I was just like, I gotta do something because I could see that I'm gonna be putting that heartache on my children. I'm talking about, you can't predict how you're gonna die, but how he was sick. You see what I'm saying? And
no, you can't predict how you're gonna die, but you can control how you live.
Right, absolutely. And I want to at least show my children how you can actually eat healthy. And like my husband, I'm so proud of him, just made a burger with beans that he found online. You see what I'm saying? But we would have never even got there had I not. This year I was just like, I'm not eating no more meat because I could see it was affecting my temperament. And then look, your temperament affects your digestive system. Your bowels will lock because everything, I don't care what you eat, fiber, all that. If you're angry, everything just, know.
And it's really funny that you say that because I'm a spiritual person, so I believe in the chakras, the energy centers of the body. And when you're upset, those energy centers in your abdominal, your sacral, and your solar plexus are affected. And that's why people get digestive problems. That's where the stress is, right? So that's that's how it manifests. Ulcers, other problems. So you have to take care of you have to take care of your mental health. And I like that you're writing this book because so many people in the African American community, when I was little, I was taught you don't talk about stuff like that. You don't go see therapists. You don't talk about it. You just kind of sweep it under the rug, and you keep doing what you got to do to push forward. And if I told my grandmother I was going to go see a therapist, she'd be like, "What for?"
Right. And the funny part with my eldest child, the only reason why I went to therapy some years ago is because my mind is blocked, right? I'm thinking he just bad and I'm just sick of him being bad. And when we went, it was like, oh, I didn't realize that therapy was the doctor or the therapist teaching me how to appear trustworthy to my son so that he could open up to me. And I was just like, oh wow, you see what I'm saying? So it's like, I'm used to talking because I'm a hairdresser, but he's a boy. So everything was just, he automatically went to that. I'm not saying nothing, but the thing about it is a stigma about mental health in the Black community. And I think that this generation, I'm at the tail end of millennials, but I know Generation Z, honey, I already know they with the therapy. They just like, it don't even matter because something's wrong and it's clear. You just look at everything in society. And me working in a nursing home at one point in time as a hairdresser, I saw the tail end of what poor mental health does to the Black community. You see what I'm saying? And it's detrimental. And so I've seen a lot, and I'm glad I got the opportunity to do that prior to COVID. I no longer work at the nursing home, but it's something that's not talked about, but it affects us. We have learned the art of mastering a mental breakdown without it looking like it. And that's a problem. There's no way I should be able to I could walk into work and be upset about something and be able to hold that together until I leave and then cry. That's a problem. There's something wrong with that. You see what I'm saying? So, that's the purpose of my book.
I like it. I do. I like both of the books. I like the bitch book because you're helping, you're sharing your experiences as an entrepreneur and wanting to help others. So maybe they don't have the challenges and pitfalls that you had. And if they do, they know that number one, it's okay, right? It's okay. And you can get through it. And I think the main reason why I believe people don't go into entrepreneurship is because they are afraid of failing. And I heard this quote: If you haven't failed, you haven't even tried.
Right. Because it's the only thing I learned about being an entrepreneur for 20 plus years is nothing but a rolling failure and failure and failure and failure. Because so if you look at my Instagram page, you'll think, man, she got it going on. You have no idea how many events I threw that nobody showed up to, and I just got to keep on. You just keep going. So you're used to rejection. I'm used to knowing that maybe a client won't come back, or maybe I can't get my neighbor to come to me. It's just rolling. You have to be a strong person because more people is going to say no than yes. And you have to accept that. It's just a matter of, that's what it is. And most people cannot accept that most people you come across are going to say no.
Well, and you have to have a belief in whatever your product is. Yes. First and foremost, you have to believe in it. Before you get me to believe in it, you got to believe in it. And you have to be okay with failure. And you have to be okay with that, because a lot of, even your top entrepreneurs, movie star, whatever, you didn't see them when they was at their lowest. They wasn't always where they are today, right? They wasn't always there. True. You didn't see all that. You didn't see them getting rejected. You don't know how many times Cardi B got rejected, or Nicki Minaj, or Beyonce. Trust me, they heard no in their careers. Okay?
Let me tell you something. That's exactly what I was about to say. That's when my eyes opened with Cardi B, because I saw her when she came on Love and Hip Hop and just watching her transition. And then when she said something about her previous following on Instagram, it hit me. I said, oh, we're seeing this part of the journey. You didn't see
the other part.
Everything.
Because they didn't want you to see that. They didn't film that. Right. There were no cameras because she wasn't famous, right? So there were no cameras showing you how she was trying out there struggling, trying to make a buck and do whatever she was trying to do. No. We don't see that. You don't see that for nobody. You don't. When you see Instagram, everybody's living their best life. So I tell, because my daughter is an entrepreneur as well. And I've watched her go through the highs and the lows, but at the bottom, at the end of the day, you have got to stick with it. You have got to believe in whatever your product is. Believe it, because trust me, somebody out there will too. And
that's so true.
Believe it.
That's so true. And I think that another thing, if I give advice for people who is thinking about it, it's more so the reason why you have to continuously hustle. Like my logo, honey, that's on my book bag. Look, that's on my whole book bag, because you don't know who you're going to cross paths with that's connected with something that's big. It's so many people I've crossed paths with that it'll turn out to be an opportunity. And it's like, you just keep hustling. Like, perfect example, one of my clients, been doing her since she was 12, and she went to college, saw her whole journey, and she's a writer, a music writer. just got her song on Tyler Perry show, right? And then we watched the transition. I said, wow, that was just amazing. Her name is Soleil. And I just watched the transition. So, and I put that on my Instagram. I'm like, my client, but I'm just like, look at how the connection. So of course I'm asking her, how did that happen? That's another thing about entrepreneurship. You cannot have pride, because you have to be able to be helpless and be like, hey, how did you get that? How did you get that business? How did you get that car? You see, because if you just is going and jealous, that stuff will pass you right by. That's why I'm so resourceful, because I'll walk up to anybody that have something that maybe I desire or whatever. I'll be like, how you get that?
And they'll tell you. And most likely they will tell you, right?
Yeah, they will.
This is one thing I learned. When you are an entrepreneur, people who are more established than you will never, ever put you down, right? If anything, they'll put you on. But people who are not where you want to, people who are beneath you, not saying they're beneath you, but who are not quite at the level of your business those are the people that will try to knock you down. Just remember that when you're out there doing your hustle, those who are where you aspire to be will probably 99.9% help you. Just like your book. You are at a certain level and you decided, I'm going to help people. I'm going to write this book. I'm going to put it out there for the whole world, and whoever wants to pick it up can. And as an entrepreneur, you got to be willing to ask for help too, because it's okay to ask for help.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's just my character anyway. I always just be like, and I've had people be like, don't tell people. I'm like, why not? Like, you want to keep everything in for what? I mean, I may not tell you every single thing all the time, but especially if somebody come and ask, I'm spilling. I'm like, here you go. If you sat there and bought my book, I lay it right on out. The personal problems that you got, for example, I was going through a custody issue at one point in time throughout my career, and I got to come to work like nothing's happening. You see what I'm saying? Because it's not like you coming working for a supervisor. It's different. When you work for yourself, it's a whole nother level of having your emotions in check, because you can't take it out on clients. Right. You can't, because that's a bad review. They'll go right on Google. They might be recording you. It might be anything. So it's a matter of actually you're growing with your own mental health when you're an entrepreneur, basically.
Yeah, you really are.
Yeah.
You really are. You know what, Dawn, thank you so much for being on the podcast. I enjoyed our discussion. We could sit here and talk about this stuff all day. But before we go, I want to know the name of the book again. Tell me the name.
Oh, the bitch book.
I want to know your Instagram. Throw it out there.
Okay. So, you can go ahead at the research departments. That's where everything is under the bitch book. And then also my salon page, Dawn Michelle Salon.
And Dawn Michelle Salon. And your YouTube channel. Throw it out there.
Oh, that's at Dawn Michelle Salon as well. So a quick URL, tiny URL / Dawn Michelle Salon. That'll take you straight to the YouTube channel. That got just about everything, including the book stuff.
Nice. Thank you so much for being on the podcast. I truly appreciate you and what you do. Don't ever stop.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate it.
Thank you for listening to another episode of BHP Book Club. I have been your host, Kelly Morgan. We just wrapped up with author-entrepreneur Dawn Williams and talked about her book, The Bitch Book, and her new upcoming book, Unsick. I can't wait till it's done, Dawn. You're definitely going to have to come back and tell us all about it. If you want to promote your book, head over to www.brightheadedpublishing.com and fill out a contact form. I'll get right back with you, and we'll have you be a member of the book club soon. Next week, another author, but until then, keep writing.